sending a company of Leopards has no real meaning.
Can we say that Poland even benefited from this situation?
The taxes that come from Ukrainians working in Poland already overcome the expenses to manage this influx of the refugees. The brutal reality is that this war is not the only crisis the world is facing.
Hello world, it's KYIV Not Kiev on the line, presented by Tatiana Haiduk and Polina Ivanishyn.
Today we're both excited to be guests at the Embassy of Friendly Poland, Ukraine, and talk to His Excellency Mr. Ambassador Bartosz Cichocki.
Poland shows leadership in advocating for Ukraine's needs, including those that you already mentioned for arms and weapons. In the debate over the Leopards, Poland's position was very firm that we will provide tanks even without Germany's consent. So in Ukraine, we love this rhetoric. This is bold. This is what we love. What is the basis for such a firm position by the Polish government?
Probably the answer comes back to the beginning of our conversation. We simply believe that this is Russia's war on Europe and not a local conflict. That this is an attempt to change our lifestyle, our freedom, all those values we enjoy, including free market, and that such crimes, beginning with aggression, ending with attacks on civilian infrastructure, kidnapping kids and deporting them to Russia, etc., that those things cannot go unpunished, because Russia is not the only challenger to the current security system in the world. There are other challengers. The first example is Iran supplying Russia with drones. Other challengers that are closely watching what's going on, and if Russia is successful in her current behavior, the others would follow, and this would be a global disaster. And second thing is that we perfectly understand, because we are in constant touch with your government, with your military, that most important thing is time. This is very difficult period of fights in Bakhmut, Soledar, Kreminna, Svatove. We are expecting new developments in the south, not necessarily to the advantage of Ukrainian side of the front, and the time is now. Second thing, obviously for technical reasons, sending a company of Leopards has no real meaning. So we are focusing on building a coalition. There are many Leopards in different countries in Europe, including Turkey, including some Scandinavian countries, including Spain. We are determined to collect as many tanks and the maintenance support as it gets, and then to as soon as possible support Ukraine. We would prefer that Germany was part of this coalition, but this is up to Chancellor Olaf Scholz. This is his choice, not ours.
A massive influx of refugees, or the way the Polish president nicely called Ukrainians in Poland, guests, causes economic and social tension. In Ukrainian media and in Telegram channels that are the main source of news in Ukraine, not that much time ago, they wrote massively, quoting Polish researcher from the Warsaw Institute, that Ukrainians, since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, paid over 2 billion euro in taxes in Poland. And Business Insider Polska reported that almost every 10th business opened in Poland in 2022 belongs to the Ukrainian owner. So can we say that Poland even benefited from this situation?
Mathematically, if we just take numbers, yes, but of course this is due to war, and we would prefer not to have war. Ukrainians are those who left the country, really had to leave the country. We all see this is war and not a kind of facade argument. Second, you are kind of people who respect our Polish or German or other customs, and you easily adapt, and you are great employees. In many cases, I've heard from Poland is that women with kids, they could simply stay and live in somebody's apartment or a house. After a while, they all wanted to do something. Just sitting in an apartment is not the kind of attitude you have. So that's why most of Ukrainian guests we host are now working and paying taxes. And most probably, this expert you quoted is right that the taxes that come from Ukrainians working in Poland already overcome the expenses to keep, to supply, to manage this influx of the refugees. The other thing was interesting to me, I read over the weekend statistics that show that our trade is flourishing. Due to the war circumstances, we gave up on most of the limits, tariffs, quotas, etc. So paradoxically, there are good things. I don't know if I may say it, but positive effects or side effects of this tragic and catastrophic aggression, and let's hope that this would stay with us. What I mean is not that those who fled war to stay in Poland, that they would stay. I think most of them would come back, but the trade relations, support for each other would stay, and those who lived in Poland would help Polish businesses to come to Ukraine, and vice versa. But war has to be stopped, and the aggressor has to be punished first.
I'm sure after Ukraine wins, we will still have this friendship, the strong relations between Poland and Ukraine. And finally, about the Ukraine fatigue in Europe. First part of the question is, do you believe this is myth or true, the Ukraine fatigue that people are getting tired of?
You know what, I wouldn't call it fatigue, but the brutal reality is that this war is not the only crisis the world is facing. And we very much support President Zelensky's idea that this peace formula, which comes from that he acknowledged that in some parts of the world, in Africa, in Latin America, in some countries of Asia, they look at this war from a different perspective, and unfortunately Russian narratives about why the war has to start, what are Russia's aims and what are Ukraine's aims or Western aims. Those narratives find followers there, and this peace formula is meant to engage every willing country to debate different aspects of this war, to learn better. I called today my good friend, ambassador of South Africa, because I came across news somewhere that South Africa would host joint military exercises with Russia and China, and I couldn't understand. I couldn't believe that this would happen during for the first anniversary of the Russian aggression. But this is reality, and there is no other way but to talk to countries like South Africa, China, and convince them about the real state of affairs. Sometimes in Europe we have different perspectives. Some countries are less sensitive to Russian neo-imperialism because they never faced Soviet or Tsarist expansion. Some countries are much more vulnerable to Russia's exports of gas, oil, whatever, and that's why every time we discuss sanctions or support for Ukraine, it takes an effort.
The Prime Minister of Poland believes that it is Poland that should keep Ukraine on the European agenda. That means to keep attention for Ukraine for a long time. So does this mean that we should all get prepared for the long distance run?
Definitely, and this is I would say this is a miracle. We are about to agree on 10th package of sanctions on Russia. If somebody told me a year ago that we would have any package of sanctions on Russia, frankly speaking, I wouldn't believe. I wouldn't believe that we would give up on Nord Stream within first weeks of. So things are changing. Sometimes we are irritated that this or that capital is not following what we believe is right. But this is a revolution. Within just 1 year, we have Germany, France sending weapons to Ukraine. In the beginning, it was unthinkable. Everyone would say about escalation, and the Ukraine got more NATO weaponry than any NATO member got in any time. So this is really unbelievable, but we have to keep it going, and we have to be faster. We have to be more. We have to be braver in what we supply. We should not calculate everything because lives and sovereignty are the most precious things. They are not calculable in money. This may take a long time, but this group of believers in your cause is growing. The single-minded country, the number of single-minded countries or friendly countries is growing. This half a year we have Sweden's presidency in the European Union. Sweden is definitely on your side of history. Denmark recently decided to send all the Caesar howitzers they have to Ukraine, the top advanced systems. So every now and then, my Italian colleague told me that Italy reduced their dependence on Russian gas from 40 plus to 9%. Remember, some years ago we would talk about old and new Europe, those divisions. I don't see those divisions now. These are about nuances. Morocco is sending tanks to Ukraine, so this is not only about Europe.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for this conversation. I'd like to think that no matter how long the road to victory may be, we will always see Poland by our side all the way through. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much. Sorry for being too talkative, but questions were not that simple to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This was Ambassador of Poland to Ukraine, Mr. Bartosz Cichocki, Tatiana Hajduk and Polina Ivanishyn, KYIV NOT KIEV.
Stay with KYIV NOT KIEV and stand with Ukraine.